Hi now, welcome to another video from dreaminghotrods.com. I'm Dave Ailey and I'd like to share with this video what I've done to my 36 Ford. I actually fitted a new independent front end in. Didn't like the way the old one was. I actually purchased the car as a complete unit. There's the old one I tore out. Just didn't like the way it was fitted in. It was actually bolted in. Sat too high. They'd lowered the springs by chopping too much out of them, so it didn't have the great ride height. Had a 350 Chev in it, and to do this I'm actually notching out the rails themselves, because the other front end I'm putting in, it is a narrower version out of a Holden Tirana from Australia, actually very similar to a Mustang 2 front end. There I've notched it out, bracing it there because I've cut it so much. I'm adding a bit more meat and strength inside, but you can see I've stepped at 75mm. There's the old one. It was all bolted in, so I wasn't too happy with that. Look at the ugly engine mounts also, so it was a nasty case I thought, but it was done in the 80s and it did its job. There's the bracing I just welded in. I'm cutting the tops off because I'm actually altering it to suit my front end and my wheel alignments. There it is stepped in. You can see I've welded it in there. It's fitted up inside the chassis rail, so you can see that I've actually got a narrower track. And I've done that to get the wheels further inside the mudguards. Just putting some gussets and plates on that to further strengthen it. And I cut these top hats off completely. And as I said, I'm moving them out 10mm, and there is a reason, but mark them before you cut them off if you have to do it on yours, just to make sure it goes exactly where it is. But I just moved these 10mm out further. I've actually used a MIG welder. It's probably a bulkier weld, but I don't have a TIG. So I've used what I've got, and if you wanted something further to enhance it for showing, you'd probably grind them down a little bit further and smear some body filler over them just to give them a clean up. But it's strong enough. All I've got to do is place some actual gussets in those holes and box them in, as you've seen it there. Now I've just used square RHS tubing, cut a section out, 45-degree angles. And fitted them up inside. I've actually marked the top on that one to give me a guide where I've got to cut, and I've got to knock that lip over. You can see there I've actually knocked the lip over itself. And on the left hand or passenger side, just got to weld that in now. But you can see how it ties it all in. All locks in. There it is, fully welded. So it's pretty got plenty of strength there. Obviously it's fully welded in now, so it won't come out easily, I must admit, but I don't want it to. So you don't plan on smashing them, so hopefully it'll be alright. I've actually boxed the sides on the front, and there you can see I've fitted that's an actual cup off my original 36 wishbone around the ball joint. I thought, well, why not use it? It'll make a handy little plate to mount my steering uni joint on. This is a front end, and the actual my rack and pinion off the front end. I am using rack and pinion steering. I've actually hit that section down. I actually got it glowing red and knocked it down with a ballpoint to give clearance for my universal. And what I've done there, I actually fitted the front end in completely, set it up with the wishbones, all just to see how it fits up and make sure there's no further trimmings to be done, which there will be, but I'll show you later on. Here I'm making a setup and checking out for my stabilizer bar. I wanted to fit one of those on. And here also I'm just checking for my stance and how I think it will look and fit as it sits on the ground. You must do all these processes. It takes a bit of time, but something you've got to do as you're putting something like this together. There I've made my little template out of cardboard. Just to give me an idea, I can transfer it onto the steel itself. Makes it so much easier. Cut them out, shape them up, and there's some boxing plates. I'm actually going to run my wiring and brake lines through that boxing plate. Here's another front end similar vehicle into a 35 Ford, just a different model, but you can see how they've stepped at 75mm. The rail's actually 75mm into the front end. Also, you've got to have your engine mount. So I've fabricated these engine mounts from the original 36 Ford Crossmember, an original one. Now the back supports or struts that mount to the bottom of the wishbone need some brackets. So here I'm making the brackets. And to give these actual bends, I didn't want to do if I used that steel, I'd have actually I'd have a wide curve on those joins. So what I did, I actually cut them at the back pretty much nearly all the way through, bent them without having to use oxy, and then welded them back up. Now that's the actual strut that goes to the back of that bracket, and I've actually bent it here. Alright, now I'm just filling in the tops. It'll neaten it off, give it a little bit more strength, clean her up with a grinder, give a smooth finish, and just round the radius all the curves and corners on. Now for the bottom wishbones, I've actually reinforced these as well. They look a little bit flimsy, these bottom wishbones, but give it more strength, because obviously they came from a 6-cylinder car, and I'm fitting a V8 into it. There's the little brackets all bent up to mount my front stabilizer bar. Fitted them up. Just neat little bracket, also adds a little bit more strength to the wishbone. There's the sway bar fitted up now. I did bend those brackets, got them glowing red, and then immersed them into some oil to give it some strength. Because you obviously, with a stabilizer bar here, you're going to have a lot of force on it. There's my brake line running through. Once it pretty much was all done, I sort of hit it with a primer and then hit it with some obviously 2-pack black paint. It's not a show pony, so I didn't go too far with grinding all the welds down or tidying it up completely, but there the wires are now running through, so it'll give it a tidier appearance on both sides. There's the sway bar fitted up. Now what I've done here, I noticed here I needed a bump stop for my steering. So I made a little plate to go in front of that little sway bar bracket, just to act as a bump stop. These are little tests you've got to look for, and here I've done again, I've actually had to redo this. I noticed I didn't have enough clearance from my brake calipers on the front to the upper wishbone as it did the ride height travel. There it is, you start assembling it all together. Steering's all fitted up. Clears everything, make sure it does all clear. You try and do that beforehand, but I actually had to notch a little bit out of my extractors near the orange flexible bit. Front end, I put them all on together in one piece. Mount it all back up. Now what I want you to look at this section is, now I've got my narrow track, and you see the clearance? To me that gets your car down lower, and look, I do hope that's helped. You can see how the car sits on the road. It went well, drove really nice, so I hope you enjoy that, and you can work on your hot rod too.